Good morning, folks, and welcome to Power Negotiating. Today I'd like to talk to you about a way to purchase properties without actually getting title to them. And it's called an assignment. And let me explain exactly what that means. When you make an offer on a property, what you're doing is you're asking the seller to allow you to purchase the property for a set price and terms. Let's say you're going to buy it for cash within 30 days. And what an assignment does, it allows you to transfer that right to someone else. Now, you're not selling them the property. You're selling them the right to buy that property at the same price, terms, and conditions that you've already negotiated for. And you say, Reed, why can't somebody else do that? Here is the great thing about real estate. Real estate is an imperfect market. Now you can say, Reed, what's the difference between a perfect market and an imperfect market? In a perfect market, such as a stock market, I can go online and I can buy 100 shares of IBM, and it's going to be at the same price, terms, and conditions as everybody else out there that's online. I'm not going to have any specialized knowledge, hopefully. I'm not going to be able to get any specialized deal, hopefully. And I'm going to be able to sell this. It's a very transferable asset. The location doesn't matter, the asset doesn't matter. It's something that I can go ahead and buy and sell no matter where I am. Real estate isn't like that. Number one, real estate has a specific location, unless you have a double wide wobbly box, in which case it might be rolling down the road. But real estate has a set location, and that set location has other variables that come into play, such as the weather, such as if there are adequate infrastructure, such as water and sewer, such as schools. And so each individual property is going to have specific advantages and disadvantages that are going to be specific for that individual property. So you're also going to have sellers that might have situations that is different than other situations. So you might have a seller that needs to sell right now, otherwise it's going to be foreclosed on, and they don't have any solution. You can provide the solution to them, and you might be able to negotiate this for a price that is far below market value. So the reason that someone would pay you a fee is not because of the house, it's because of the deal that you got on the house. So you always want to know what the house is worth and what you can buy it for. If there's enough spread between what you bought it for, between what you buy it for, and what the property is worth, there's a chance that you can find someone else that will take your assignment. Now, what is the difference between being a realtor and having an assignment? If you're going to sell other properties for other people, you have to have a realtor's license if you're going to make a profit at it. However, if you're selling your equitable interest in the property, if you're selling your assignment, the right to buy the property at that price, terms, and conditions, you do not need a realtor's license. So this is a way for you to sell your equitable interest in the property. Now, what other methods can you do to go ahead and have an equitable interest in the property and make money off of it? You have options. An option is, I have the right to buy this property for a certain price within a certain time period. And typically you have to give them some type of consideration or money in order for them to accept the option. And depending upon what you do, you can have an option that can be for a day, for a week, for a month, for a year, for a set period of time. And the longer you tie up that property, the more you had to pay them for that right to buy it at that price. That's why you have an option fee. When we are talking with people, we want to control the property without necessarily having to pay for that option fee. One way to do this is with the assignment. The option is another way. Now let's talk about a little wrinkle here. Can you have a non-exclusive option? A non-exclusive option gives you the right to buy it at that price, terms, and conditions, but the seller can go ahead and they're going to sell it, and if they find someone to buy it first, those price, terms, and conditions, great. You have the right to give them the first right of refusal, which means that, hey, I'm going to go ahead and sell this property for $100,000. Do you want to buy it? No. Okay, I'll go ahead and sell it to them. So you always want to take a look at what options you have and what is the seller's problem. How can you solve the seller's problem? Sometimes someone will want to hold on to the property and you're just tying it up for a very small option fee to be able to buy it at a certain time down the road. Now, when is this a good practice? If you think that the property is going to appreciate greatly in the next month, year, whatever, getting an option on the property is an excellent way to control the property without actually owning it. Another way to control these properties is with a lease option. You're going to lease it or rent it with the option to purchase it at a later date. We've gone into quite some depth on that, but the same principle applies. You are tying the property up. You have guaranteed a price for a certain period of time. With the lease option, I want you to have the lease option period be for at least 5 years from the seller. Now you're going to say, Reed, why do I want to have a lease option period of 5 years? That's the minimum. What happens if you put a tenant buyer in there and they can't execute? You had to find a new tenant buyer and they can't execute. You had to find a new tenant buyer. Every time you do this, you're going to get a new non-refundable option fee from that tenant buyer. But at some point, you're going to be able to execute this and make money on it. And if you only have it tied up for 2 years, that's not enough time. Now, the ideal time is you ask the seller this question. Mr. Seller, how long would you like to not have to worry about making the mortgage, taxes, and insurance and still own the property? Forever. Great. Why don't we just do it until the end of the option, until the end of your mortgage term? And again, the purchase price is the declining mortgage balance. And if they agree to that, the longer you can hold it, the more the mortgage balance gets reduced because the tenant buyers are going to be paying that, and the more it will appreciate in value. So you're going to have a greater spread in profit.